Right. Hello. How are we all going? It's Sarah here from Melbourne's Vegan, and today I'm back showing you how to make cheese from home. Vegan cheese from home. I honestly thought that making cheese was going to be really hard, but it was really easy. I thought it was going to be a really difficult process with lots of different methods, but it actually was pretty easy. I've made two types of cheeses, one from cashews and one from almonds. Both of them do take a little bit of prepping. It takes about a day and a half to make it, but it is so worth it. So stay tuned and you'll see how it goes. So because you have to soak the nuts for 24 hours, I decided to make both the cheeses at once, just to feed two birds with one scone. I followed the Minimalist Baker for the cashew creamy cheese recipe, and I used Vegetarian Times for the almond feta. And I also used this other website to learn how to blanch the almonds because I didn't know how to blanch almonds. And don't worry, I'll leave the links to all these recipes in the description. So before you soak the almonds, you need to blanch them, which is just a process of putting them in boiling water for 1 minute and then removing them and running them under cold water, and this will help you remove the skin. Once that is done, both recipes require you to soak the nuts for at least 12 to 24 hours. So I just soaked mine overnight. You will need a cheesecloth for both recipes, and I didn't have one, and I doubt that you will as well if you're in ISO. So I just used an old Cook Eye number, just a little linen t-shirt that had a couple of holes in it that I wasn't going to use anymore. I cut that up into two cloths and it worked perfectly fine. The next day, your almonds and cashews should look like this. As you can see, they've expanded a little bit. I decided to start off with the almond feta first because that's the one I was most excited about. So what you need to do is just give them a quick rinse and then dry them using a towel or some paper towel, whatever you have handy. And then you want to put them into the food processor or blender, whatever you have. Both of them work perfectly, especially the bullet. I find that it blends everything really well. And then you're going to add the rest of your ingredients. So we had a few tablespoons of oil, some lemon juice. I believe it was 3/4 cup of lemon juice. Oh no, it was 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And then the recipe said to add in 1 garlic clove, but I put in 2 because you can never have too much garlic. Chucked in some salt. And then I added some water as well and blended that all up. It took about 2 minutes to blend everything really smoothly, and then I assembled my strainer on top of a bowl with the cheesecloth on top and moved the almond mix into the cloth. And I was expecting liquid to sort of sift out of the bottom, but I didn't realize that the mixture was actually quite dense. And so as you can see, I squeezed a bit too hard and it looks like pus coming out of a pimple. But anyway, so I just left it and then I tied it up using a brand new hair tie. Didn't have a rubber band, but the hair tie was brand new, I promise. And then she went in the fridge to set for about 12 hours. There was a little bit of mix left over that I really wanted to taste test, so I put it on some toast and oh, you could have this as a cream cheese. It was absolutely beautiful. Then while that was setting, I prepared the cashew cheese as well, which was pretty similar to how you make the almond feta. Same sort of process with drying the cashews and blending it up. So in the blender we had the cashews, some lemon juice, we had lemon zest, water, olive oil, nutritional yeast, some garlic, some salt, and garlic powder. And just remember that all the quantities will be on the recipe that I link below as well. Then we blended that all up until it was nice and smooth. And same sitch as the almond feta, just put a cheesecloth over the strainer and poured the contents into the cloth. Now as you can see, it's really runny, and that's because I messed up the quantities of the water when I was halving the recipe and I added in too much liquid. It still turned out fine, but it was just a little bit on the runny side. And then same deal, tied it up with a hair tie and chucked it in the fridge to set with the almond feta. And I put some of the leftovers aside to have with my lunch and dinner later on. So it wasn't a full 24 hours later, but it was the next day because I just wanted to let everything really set in. But now we're back to the almond feta. I untied the cheesecloth. I was so nervous because I didn't want it to mess up. But I unraveled it. And as you can see, the cheese really kind of holds its shape well. Here she comes. Oh, she looks perfect. I popped her in the tray, gave her a little pat down with my salad fingers to flatten her out a little bit. And then she went in the oven for about 40 minutes at 200 degrees. 40 minutes done. Doesn't look anywhere near the photo on the internet, but I'll appreciate her for what she is because I know she gonna taste good. And then the final step for the almond feta is just making the thyme and rosemary oil to go on top. And that's just a process of chucking a couple of bits of rosemary and thyme in some oil and heating it on the stove for about 5 to 10 minutes. and I was so excited to try it, so I included the almond feta in my breakfast with my mushrooms, tomato and avocado on toast. Then it was time to see how the cashew cheese went, and as I sort of assumed, it was a little bit too runny and didn't really set properly, which sort of made it hard to get it out of the cheesecloth onto the plate. I did get there, but it ended up looking like that weird fish that everyone's seen on the internet. I had it that night with my shepherd's pie and it was amazing, and then I had it the next morning as well on some toast as a cream cheese sort of thing, and it was incredible as well, so I definitely would make it again. Right, that is all from me for another day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want, and as always, please send me suggestions if you have a good video that you'd like me to film. Alright, thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.